This is video number 2 on electric charges and fields. In this video, I will talk about electric field lines, the concept of electric flux. I will solve few problems. Finally, I will summarize this video. Electric field due to a point charge Q is force on a unit positive point charge. So using Coulomb's law, we can get this force as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q into 1 divided by R square, where R is the distance between the charge capital Q and unit positive charge, and the direction is radially outward from the source charge Q. Force experienced by a charge small q placed in this electric field produced by the charge capital Q is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q into Q divided by R square. This is by Coulomb's law, and the electric field produced by capital Q is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught capital Q by R square. So this can be written as Q into E. So the force experienced by a charge small q placed in an external electric field E is given as Q into E. If you have more than one point charge, like in system of n point charges, then we can find electric field at a point P as force on a unit positive charge due to the remaining charges. In this particular example, there are 4 point charges Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4, and suppose you have to find the electric field at point P, which is a unit force on a unit positive point charge. Then we have to find force due to these individual charges and we have to sum them up. That force is the electric field vector. So due to the charge Q1, the electric field will be radially away from Q1 in this direction E1, and similarly electric field due to the point charge Q2 will be in this direction E2, and E3 is due to charge Q3 and E4 is due to charge Q4. So to find the net electric field at point P due to these 4 charges, we have to add these 4 electric field vectors vectorially. So in general, if there are n charges, to find electric field at point P, we have to sum the electric field due to the individual charges, and this sum is a vector sum because electric field is a vector quantity. Electric field is a convenient and elegant way of characterizing electrical environment of a system of charges. Suppose if you want to find the force on a charge, say Q, kept at this point P, we can do that by using Coulomb's law, or we can find the net electric field at this point and write the force as the value of the charge which is kept here into the net electric field acting at this point. Concept of electric field was introduced first by Faraday. Let's consider this question. 2 point charges Q1 and Q2 are located at A and B respectively. What is the electric field at point B due to the charge Q1 at point A? Does this electric field depend on Q2? What is force on Q2 due to Q1? Does this force depend on Q2? How is the electric field and force related? You can pause and attempt this question. The electric field due to a point charge Q1 is given as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 by R square, where R is the distance between the source charge Q1 and the point where the electric field is being measured. So this electric field depends only on the source charge Q1 and not on Q2, and the force between the charge Q1 and Q2 is given by Coulomb's law as 1 by 4 epsilon Q1 Q2 by R square. So this force depends on the source charge Q1 and also the charge which is experiencing the force, and this force can be written as Q2 into the electric field produced by Q1. So in general, the force acting on a charge due to an external electric field can be written as the value of the charge into the external electric field. This is the next question. Calculate the electric field intensity E, which would be just sufficient to to balance the weight of an electron. If this electric field is produced by a second electron located below the first one, what would be the distance between them? Given electron charge is 1.6 into 10 to the minus 10 coulomb, mass of the electron is 9.1 10 to the minus 31 kg, and acceleration due to gravity g is 9.8 meter per second square. You can pause and attempt this question. So drawing the free body diagram of the electron, the forces acting on it will be its weight mg, and we have to apply the electric field so that the force due to this electric field will balance this weight. So the direction of the electric field has to be downwards, because the force acting on a negatively charged particle will be in the direction opposite to the electric field. Force on a charge is Q into E. Since Q is negative for electron, the force direction will be opposite to the electric field. So the electric field is downwards, the force due to this electric field will be upwards, it's E into E, and this should balance the weight of the electron. So from this we get the electric field as mg by E. Putting the values of mass of the electron, acceleration due to gravity, and the electron charge, we get this electric field intensity as 5.57 in 10 to the minus 7 volt per meter. So if we have electric field of this much intensity, it will balance the weight of the electron, and the electron will be at rest. This electric field can be produced by using another electron below this electron, and it should be kept at a particular distance so that the electric field due to this electron will match this value. So electric field at a distance r from this electron is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught E by r square, and this should match this value. So from this we get r as square root of 9 into 10 to the 9, which is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into E by E. So putting the value of E as this one, we get this distance as approximately 5 meters. So electron, which is at a distance of 5 meters, will be able to balance the weight of the above electron. Electric field lines. Field is a quantity that is defined for each point in space. For example, if I define temperature at all these points in space, then this is called temperature field, and it is a scalar field. Similarly, if we define velocity, say velocity of molecules of a gas, it will be in different directions. Then this is a vector field, and it's a velocity vector field. So similarly, if I define electric field at different points in space, then it becomes a electric field, and it is a vector field, because electric field is a vector quantity. And the length of the vector is proportional to the magnitude of the electric field. So this is a point charge. So the electric field will be radially outward, and the length of this electric field vector is proportional to its magnitude. So the length of the electric field vector goes down as you move out. The electric field intensity will go down as 1 by r square. So the length of the vector will also go down as 1 by r square. But for a given r, the length of the electric field is same, because the intensity depends only on the radial distance r, but not on the direction. But the direction will be radially outward. So even for this value of r, the length of the electric field vectors are same, but the directions are different, and they are radially outward. This is the electric field vector. To draw electric field lines, this is the rule to be followed. It should be drawn so that the tangent to it gives the direction of the electric field, and the density of the line is proportional to the strength. So we have to draw a curve which is touching all these field vectors. So the electric field lines will look like this for a positive charge. So if you take any point and draw tangent to it and put a arrow mark in the direction shown on the line, it will give the electric field at that point. So the electric field direction is radially outward at all the points, and the magnitude is given by the density of field lines cutting the surface. So at this place, if I take an area like this, there are two lines cutting this surface. If we draw the same area at a larger distance, only one line is passing through them. So the density of the electric field lines gives the measure of the electric field intensity, and this is how the electric field lines are drawn. Electric flux through a elemental area dA is given as E dot dA. So E dot dA is E into dA into cos theta, with theta is the angle between the electric field and the area vector. So the flux through the surface is proportional to the electric field intensity. It is proportional to the area. If the area is more, then the flux will be more, and it also depends on the orientation of the area with respect to the electric field. So it's proportional to cos theta. The theta is the angle between electric field vector and the area vector. So electric flux is measure of number of electric field lines passing through a surface. So the electric field lines can be more if the electric field intensity is more, because density of line is measure of the electric field strength. So if electric field is strong, then the density of lines will be more. So the number of lines passing through the area will be more. A number of lines passing through the area will be more if the area is bigger. So it's also proportional to the size of the area, and it also depends on the orientation. If maximum number of area is facing the electric field, then maximum flux will pass through it. Let's consider this question. Given a square of side 2 meters, an electric field intensity of 3 volt per meter, what is the possible maximum and minimum value of electric flux through the square? You can pause and attempt this question. So the flux through an area is given as E dot dA. So that is E into dA into cos theta, and dA cos theta is component of area along E. Dot product of any two vectors, say A and B, is A dot B, which is A into B cos theta. So that can be interpreted as A into component of B along A. So to have maximum flux, the area vector and E vector should be parallel. In that case, area vector is drawn normal to the face. So in that situation, maximum area will be facing this electric field. So maximum number of lines will pass through this surface. In that case, the flux will be 3 to 4. The full area will be facing the electric field. So it is 12 volt per meter. Suppose I rotate this area by 90 degrees. So the area will become like this. In this case, the number of field lines passing through this area will be 0. The field lines will be just touching this face, or will be just grazing this face. So the number of electric field lines cutting through this area is 0. And the area vector is towards right, which is normal to this face. So the angle between the electric field and the area vector is 90 degrees. They are perpendicular. So cos 90 is 0. So the flux is 0. Suppose I rotate this area by 180 degrees, then the direction of the area vector will be out of the plane of the paper. So the angle between electric field and the area vector is 180 degrees. Then cos 180 is minus 1. So the flux can become negative. So it will be minus 12. So if I include the sign of the flux, then the minimum flux is minus 12. But if I just look at the magnitude of the flux, then the minimum flux is 0. So to increase the flux through an area, it's not only necessary to increase the electric field and the size of the area, but also the area has to be oriented properly. Even if the area is large and if the area is oriented such that the electric field lines don't cut through the surface but just graze them, then the flux will be 0. Let's move to the next question. The electric field in a region is given as E equal to alpha x I cap. Here alpha is a constant of proper dimensions. Find total flux passing through a cube by the surfaces x equal to L, x equal to 2L, y equal to 0, y equal to L, z equal to 0, z equal to L. So this is a cube of dimensions L by L by L. You can pause and attempt this question. The direction of electric field is along I cap. This is given in the question. So the electric field direction is towards right. It's along I cap. And this electric field will not pass through the top surface, bottom surface, back surface and the front surface, because these four surfaces, the electric field will just graze the surface. It will not pass through the surface, but it will pass through left face and right face. Left face, that is ABCD, and the right face EFGH. Only these two faces the electric field will cut through them. Electric field passes only through left and right faces. Other four faces, the flux through them is 0. To find electric flux passing through the left face, we have to do integral E dot dA. The left face, the rule for drawing the electric area vector is its normal vector and its outward normal. So for the left face, the direction of area vector is towards left, which is outward normal, and for the right face, the area vector is outward normal, which is towards right. Flux passing to the left face is integral E dot dA, and electric field is alpha into x dA, and cos of angle between electric field vector and area vector is 180 degrees. That is cos 180, that is -1, and value of x is constant for the left face, that is L. So the flux coming out of the left face is alpha L into L square. Similarly to the right face, integral E dot dA, the angle between the electric field and the area vector is 0 degrees, so cos 0 is 1, and the value of x is 2L, so the flux is alpha into 2L into L square. To get the total flux coming out of the cube, we have to add the flux to the 6 faces. The flux coming out of the 4 faces is 0. The flux is there only on the left face and right face, so if you add these two fluxes, we get the total flux, which is alpha L cube. So this is the total flux that is coming out of the cube. This is the next question. Electric flux through a circular disc. We have a point charge Q here at a distance L from the disc of radius r, and the disc face is perpendicular to the line joining point charge Q and the center of the disc, so that the maximum face of the disc is facing the electric field. We have to find the flux that is passing through this disc. You can pause and attempt this question. So we have to take small elemental areas of this disc and find the flux passing through that area. That will be d5, that's E dot dA, and then we have to sum them flux passing through all the elemental areas. We will take an elemental ring at a distance of radius x. So any element of this ring, the electric field passing through that element and the area vector will make this same angle theta, which is the angle made by the line joining the point charge Q in the center of the disc and point charge Q and the element of the ring. So even if we take an element of the ring here, the electric field at this element's position and the area vector, it will make an angle theta. So, and all the cos components of this electric field flux will add, because E dot ds is E ds into angle between E and ds, which is theta, it's called theta, and electric field at a distance, this distance is hypotenuse of this triangle, which is made of, this is L and this radius is x, so it's square root of L square plus x square, so the distance square is s square plus L square. So the electric field at this ring location is kq by x square plus L square, and the elemental area is the area of the ring 2 pi x dx, and cos theta is L, which is the adjacent side, divided by the hypotenuse, which is square root of x square plus L square. So this is the flux that is coming out of this ring. To get the flux coming out of the full disc, we have to indicate this elemental flux coming out of the ring for radius varying from 0 to capital R, where R is the radius of the disc. So that is the expression. So the variables are x dx and L square plus x square raised to the power 3 by 2. So QL by 2 epsilon is constant, so it will come out of the integration sign. This is a standard integration. We have to make a substitution that L square plus x square equal to u. So x dx can be written in terms of du. So it will become du divided by u raised to the power 3 by 2. It's a simple integration, and it will become this expression, and we have to put the limits. So we'll get this one. So L and L will cancel. So it will become 1 minus L divided by square root of L square plus R square, and L by square root of L square plus R square is cos alpha, where alpha is the angle of the cone. It is half angle of the cone. So the flux coming through out of the disk is q by 2 epsilon naught into 1 minus cos alpha, where alpha is the half angle of the cone. This is an important result we have to remember. To summarize, the electric field due to a point charge capital Q at a distance r is given as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square, and the direction is radially outward from the source charge Q. This is by definition of electric field, which states that the electric field is force on a unit positive charge. Force on a point charge Q kept in an external electric field is given as Q into the electric field. Electric field at a point P due to a system of n point charges is given as sum of electric field due to the individual point charges. This is by superposition principle. Superposition principle is valid for Coulomb's law, so it's also valid for calculating the electric field due to a system of n point charges. Electric field line is drawn such that the tangent to it gives the direction of the electric field, and the density of the lines is proportional to the strength of the electric field. This is the rule for drawing the electric field lines. An electric flux through the elemental area is given as E dot dA, where E is the electric field vector and dA is the elemental area vector. So the flux passing through an area depends not only on the electric field strength and the size of the area, but also depends on the orientation of the area with respect to the electric field. Electric flux through a circular disk of radius r due to a point charge Q at a distance d from it is 1 q by 2 epsilon naught into 1 minus d divided by square root of d square plus r square. Here the disk is oriented such that the line joining the point charge Q and the center of the disk is normal to the face of the disk, and d divided by square root of d square plus r square is cos alpha, where alpha is the half angle of the cone. So it is q by 2 epsilon into 1 minus cos alpha. I also take doubt solving session for physics and math subjects of JEE and NEET. If you are interested, you can contact me. This is my WhatsApp number. Fees is nominal.